listening to James Turk recently, he's convinced we could be entering hyperinflation here domestically. And, we've heard this talk now for a decade, and we just haven't seen any signs of hyperinflation. Do you think that this time around he might be onto something?
Well, you don't really see signs of hyperinflation until it hits, and then, of course, it's too late. But I think that if we continue along the path that we're on now, hyperinflation is unfortunately what is going to happen. So in order to avoid that outcome, we need to change policy 180 degrees. And so far there's no indication that that is going to happen, but you can still hope that when push really comes to shove, when their backs are to the wall, our leaders will finally be willing to make the tough choices, although they'll be far tougher because they waited so long, because they exacerbated the problem so much. So we are looking at a horrific economic outcome to avoid hyperinflation. The type of recession that we're going to have to endure is going to be staggering and in many ways worse than the Great Depression because of what the government has done. But it's imperative that we do that and avoid hyperinflation because that outcome will be even worse. And, that's one of the reasons trying to avoid hyperinflation is one of the reasons, the main reason I'm running for the United States Senate right now in Connecticut to try to get to Washington to make sure that the right decisions are ultimately made before it's too late. Because right now, I don't even know if there's anyone in the Senate who even understands what those decisions are and what the consequences are and what's at stake here. So if people want to help me, if they want to help me try to get into the Senate, they can work to support my campaign. They can visit my website at schiffforsenate.com. They can make a contribution, sign up to volunteer. It's going to be a tough battle to get the Republican nomination and then to beat Chris Dodd to get the Senate seat here in Connecticut. But if everybody pitches in and helps and volunteers and donates money, it might actually happen.
Well, I think that'd be fantastic. The Sound Money crowd would have Ron Paul in the House and Peter Schiff in the Senate. The credit crunch of 2008 led to a financial fire sale, the like of which we haven't seen since the NASDAQ bubble implosion. What are the odds, from your perspective, that this new commodities bull we've seen in the past 6 months could be derailed by part 2 of a liquidity crisis?
No, I don't think there's going to be another liquidity crisis because there is tons of liquidity. The initial liquidity crisis had to do with the fear that the government might do the right thing, and allow businesses to fail and banks to fail and credit to dry up. But they're not doing that. I mean, there's pretty much no chance of the government doing the right thing at this point. They're going to keep pouring gasoline on this fire. That means plenty of liquidity to go into commodities and other types of speculation. Unfortunately, there's going to be very little liquidity for small businesses in the United States to expand and produce things and hire people. So that's one of the reasons that jobs are not going to be created, but inflation is going to be created.
I understand you just unveiled Crash Proof 2.0.
Crash Proof 2.0 is my latest version of my original book, Crash Proof, which came out in February of 2007. So the new version has about 80 additional pages, so I've updated it based on some of the things that have happened since I originally wrote this book back in 2006. So if you haven't read the initial, or even if you have and you want to get the newer version, go to your bookstore or my website, pick up a copy of Crash Proof 2.0. And as my website is Europac.net, EUROPAC.net. You can order it there. Or, you can go into better bookstores and you'll find copies on the shelves.
Sure, Amazon.com for Crash Proof 2.0. All right, Peter, thanks so much for joining me today on the program. I wish you the best, sir.
Thanks for having me on.